Coming up on One Detroit, it's all about arts and culture. We'll take you to Cranbrook, where design fans are hitting Instagram for specialty tours, plus the role of storytelling in the time of COVID-19 with Satori Shakoor. Then Sphinx founder Aaron Dworkin with composer Bernard Roumain on making art to impact social change. And dancers with an edgy take on ballet. I'm Christy McDonald. Join me. One Detroit is coming up.
Support for this program provided by W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, MASCO Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. MASCO, serving Michigan communities since 1929. The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. NISSAN Foundation, and viewers like you.
Hi there and welcome to One Detroit. I'm Christy McDonald. Thanks so much for joining me. Well, the stay-at-home order has been lifted, but it's probably going to be quite a while before we find ourselves at a concert or at a gallery, a museum, or a poetry reading. So this show is dedicated solely to arts and culture and staying in touch with the music, the places, and the artists that we're experiencing now in a whole new way. Coming up on One Detroit, Kevin Atkinson from Cranbrook shares the live social media tours that are connecting design buffs with architecture. Also ahead, Stephen Henderson talks with Satori Shakoor on the importance of storytelling, especially now. Plus, Aaron Dworkin talks with composer Bernard Roumain on using art to get in touch with racial and cultural identity. And a company of dancers living their dream with a different take on ballet. And we'll end it up with a Sphinx performance, different from what you've experienced before. But we are starting at Cranbrook, and the new live tour is giving people a new look at Eliel Saarinen's work. So for people who aren't maybe terribly familiar, give us a bigger picture of Cranbrook's really rich architectural heritage.
Cranbrook is a community since 1904 when we were a private family estate. And then around 1922 when we opened an elementary school, George and Ellen Scripps Booth built a center of art, education, and science. And they worked with predominantly the Finnish-American architect Eliel Saarinen, who immigrated to America in 1923. And he lived here at Cranbrook from 1925 until his death in 1950. And so the entire second half of his career, he spent building and developing this special place. And Saarinen really considered it to be a total work of art. And so he was not only our architect, but he designed the landscape. He designed where the buildings went, the streets. He designed the interiors, he designed the furniture, he designed the teacups and the logo. He even designed the ties that the boys wore to dinner. And so part of my role with the Cranbrook Center for Collections and Research is preserving that legacy that the Booths and the Saarinens left, but then also educating the wider world about all that Cranbrook has to offer.
Now, usually you would be giving walking tours, or you would be engaging with groups who would come in and be able to show them everything on the grounds. COVID-19 changed all of that.
It did, and it changed it quite quickly. We had a large dinner celebrating our English roots, and that was canceled, and then it was just the dominoes fell and everything changed. And so I thought, everything's moving digitally. I have a phone with a camera on it. I can take the tours that are now all canceled and we can do them through the phone.
So talk to me about, it's called Live at 5. You've been on Facebook and Instagram. What are you doing and what's been the reaction from people?
So Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 5 o'clock, I go to a new corner of campus. On Facebook, we do building tours. So taking one corner of campus. On Instagram, I try and do sort of closer look at individual objects. So a real close study of one sculpture or one chair. And the reaction has been overwhelmingly positive. We're able to get into a lot more corners of campus and share a lot more stories with a lot more people. So I had about 400 people virtually on a tour of Cranbrook House.
And designed by Albert Kahn, right?
Yes, yep. So the Albert Kahn Cranbrook House, and then later in the 20th century, we have important buildings by New York architect Stephen Hull, Todd Williams and Billy Chin, Spanish architect Rafael Mineo. And those are all important projects that happened around the turn of the century that we really don't tour as much. And so I've been able to reach out to whole new corners of the architectural world who are interested in these lesser known parts of Cranbrook.
What are some of the plans now as we start looking at opening up?
Well, just yesterday, I was planning my Live at Fives through August. So I will continue doing them at least for a couple of more months. And we also at Cranbrook are taking health and wellness incredibly seriously. And so it's very unclear when both we as the staff and visitors will be comfortable standing in a group with 15 people. Particularly when it comes to the 3 houses that we operate as house museums. It will be a minute before tours are resumed here at Cranbrook.
All right, Kevin, go ahead and tell people again where they can find these virtual tours and when.
Absolutely. We're the Cranbrook Center for Collections and Research, and every Wednesday at 5 o'clock on the Cranbrook Center for Collections and Research Facebook page. You'll just log onto the page. We'll pop up automatically at 5 o'clock, and on Tuesday and Thursday on Instagram at Cranbrook Center. At the end of June, we'll be having a lecture live from London with Brendan Cormier, curator at the Victoria and Albert Museum, who will be talking about cars. So guests can see that on our Facebook page or our website as well.
Musician and founder of the Sphinx organization, Aaron Dworkin, has a new interview series on Detroit Public Television called Arts Engines. And he recently interviewed Daniel Bernard Roumain. He's a composer and a musician who uses his music to impact social justice and change.
Can you give us an example of how you're using your art to impact social change?
So I'm on a few boards. Proudly serve for the Association of Performing Arts Professionals, APAP. I also serve on the board for the League of American Orchestras. So those are two organizations that are actively engaged in change, and I would say specific systemic change. So for example, I was recently involved in an online forum, quickly convened by the League of American Orchestras, where we had over 400 participants talking about racism, and to be more specific, anti-racism within our American orchestral culture. And the conversation will be honest, and the only requirement is that we'll end with something actionable.
You have built sustainability around your art making. How do you do that? Are there some pragmatic advice for those who are watching right now who want to do the same thing? They want to take what they're doing artistically, but build a brand and build sustainability around it, including an income to keep a roof over their heads. What would you share with them?
I think education is very important. What you are learning right now and the totality of your education is something that's very personal. And when I was very young, my first music teacher told me, everything you know is an asset. Everything you don't know might be a liability. So that's the wonderful thing about being an artist, that, every film, every book, every movie, the worst things that happen to you in life have some knowledge, something for you to gain. Number 2 would be environment. Where are you? And the place that you are has important truths that need to be found and discovered. And the last thing, actually, I would think about advocacy. We get caught up in our careers. How can I forward myself? How can I have a relationship with a person or an organization that will help my career? The notion of advocating for someone else early on in our careers is not only a moral right, but I have seen and I know and have experienced that it will lead to a greater common good. I think that for what we call the emerging artist, advocacy should be a part of your career toolkit.
What is next for you in the arts?
I'm educating myself. Yes, I am a black man. I am a black Haitian American composer. There are so many things that I do not know about myself, my culture, my race, my person, my history, my Haitian history specifically. So this is a moment of pause and reflection. It is a moment of crisis. It is a moment of conflict. It is a moment of change. Artists have always led the way. How we lead is individual. But I think that we are in the second part of a 3-part timeline. Part 1 was we had a series of horrific events, including the events surrounding the murder of George Floyd, which led to a series of aspirational, mournful, and immediate responses from individuals and organizations. And these aspirational and mournful postings center around what I call a declaration and affirmation of the love for black people. Phase 2, now we're into actionable items. And I narrow all of that down to what I call specific systemic change. I know a lot of organizations are re-examining their commitments, specifically to people of color, but more broadly to themselves, and the liabilities and the loss and the harmful behavior of past practices as we look forward to best practices, new practices. The third phase of this 3-part timeline, I think, will be what I refer to as truth, reconciliation, and rehabilitation. This is what we are going to do as an individual. This is what we're going to do as an organization. This is what we're going to do, I hope, as a field. It's very exciting. There's a lot of promise. And I'm only talking, by the way, very narrowly about the arts field, right? I'm not talking about our larger societies and countries and global culture, if you will. But I'm hopeful. Real change is coming. Change has come. Real change, capital R, is a-coming.
The power of performance art and storytelling brings an amazing connection to one another. And the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers is a Detroit organization. They hold performances and workshops that really now have been on hold since COVID-19. But they're trying something new. Stephen Henderson caught up with executive director and founder Satori Shakoor.
So let's talk about the role of storytelling at a time like this, and how do we use story to heal and to survive?
Well, if there was ever a time for storytelling, the time is now. And that's what we're doing. There's the big story that we see every day on the news. And then there are the smaller stories, the most significant stories of the nurses and the doctors and those planes flying over to applaud their courage. So there are flowers and things that are blooming in the midst of all of this tragedy and heartache. And I lived through the 67 riots. I was a kid, but I also lived through the 92 riots in Los Angeles with Rodney King. And each of those times, the artists always debated the word riot, or uprising. And we can call whatever this is, that was what that was. Yeah. And it's a place for our frustrations and our angers to be expressed. Where can it go? It has to spill out beyond our bodies and search out other like-minded people who are tired. We're ready for a change.
Tell us what the future, or at least the immediate future of Twisted Storytellers is going to look like.
Storytelling has an enormous human value, obviously. So no matter what's going on, we're going to find a way to tell our stories. And so because we are where we are in the world of technology and Zoom, we are all on the same playing field. And so we have found another way to tell our stories. It's very different than live, obviously, because you can't see and breathe and hug people. But what we're trying to do is create like a little half-hour show where we have a storyteller tell a short story, and then we have other people come and talk around the theme in a very dynamic way, because I grew up in the 60s and the 70s where conversation was an art. And the entertainment show like Johnny Carson or Ed Sullivan, people would entertain and tell their stories. And so language was so juicy and it delighted my mind. So our next show is Black Men Count, where we're gonna stream it virtually everywhere across platforms. Stacey Hotwax Hale is the host and DJ. Maxie Jones is the storyteller. The theme is Black Men Count, and our special guests are Jacob R. Walker from DTE Foundation, who is sponsoring this event for us and to get their message out and to encourage Black men to stand up and be counted in the U.S. Census.
I want to give you a chance, though, to talk. I mean, as somebody who's such a foundational part of this community, an important part of the arts community here, talk about where you think we end up.
Where do we end up? We've ended up there now. We're now until we change fundamentally the policies, the structure, the system that delivers the same outcomes over and over again, because that's what they're designed to do. So it's not just about getting over this moment of George Floyd and another painful execution in front of us. It's about using the moment. And even human beings are so extraordinary to me. So we're going to end up where we are right now, and probably wherever this is going to take us if we don't make a sharp U or left or right. We have to fundamentally change things.
Okay, Satori Shakoor, it is great to see that you're doing well. It is wonderful to hear that Twisted Storytellers is, of course, going to continue in a virtual way, and it's great to have you share the optimism that you have for our future with our viewers. Thanks very much for being here.
This next story comes to us from a show that's on Detroit Public Television called Detroit Performs. It's about a dance company called Ballet Edge that takes a non-traditional approach to ballet and brings it to a wide audience.
Ballet is not just an activity or a hobby, it's a lifestyle. I've always loved movement since I was a child. I was actually more of a late bloomer when it came to ballet. I started around the time of 13 years old, but I loved it since.
Ballet is something that I have done my entire life. It's just been this passion inside me, and I've always kind of wanted to get back to it. So a few years ago, I got back into ballet.
When I first moved to Detroit, I felt like I really needed to find my passion and establish more of an identity for myself. So I went back to taking dance classes, and I realized how much I missed it. And that's how I started meeting these wonderful dancers in class.
Meeting Angel, really just the passion for ballet that we both had was our instant connection. And we didn't really see any ballet companies in Detroit. Most larger cities do have ballet companies, and we thought that this would be a great chance to really try to bring that ballet, that art, back to the city.
And we decided to start working together after class and learning choreography together, and performances started popping up for us. So that's how Ballet Edge started.
All of dance just brings a different connection to people. It's something that's expressive, and people can come and just step away from all of what's going on in the world and just come and watch something entertaining and something fun.
Our mission is to bring a bold and innovative twist to ballet through using our trained classical technique, but putting more of a relatable modern twist on it so that all audience members can relate to our choreography.
We're really trying to bring a new, refreshing outlook on ballet to Detroit. Our name is Ballet Edge Detroit, so we try to be edgy and different, and we kind of try to break the mold of what people typically think of classical ballet, that it's just tutus and classical music. We really try to bring something fun and unique so that everyone will enjoy it.
We're trying to attract all people to our performances, not just people who are really familiar with ballet. So in order to attract all of Detroit, we need to have dancers that each audience member can relate to. So maybe an audience member will say, oh, I can relate to that mom. I can't believe she's dancing out there still. She's got kids, but she's still holding on to her passion.
I think that it's very important, especially as women and for those of us who are mothers. A lot of times we put ourselves and our passions and our dreams and what drives us, we put those on the back burner to be there for our family. So it's great to kind of reclaim some of that and kind of remember who you are. Everybody just comes from different walks of life, and everyone has their own little backstory before they come to Ballet Edge. I'm a huge advocate for following your dreams regardless of where you are, age or stage in life.
I think one of the things that makes us different and perhaps mature is that many of our dancers have done other things in their life, such as work or gone to college, and those experiences make us very comfortable with who we are and made us realize how much we love dance and make us come back to dance. So we are experiencing the best of both worlds.
I think it's so cool to go to my job and people are like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? And I'm like, oh, I've got a 5-hour ballet rehearsal. And they're like, wow, that's so amazing. And it is amazing, but I think it's inspirational because now other people can see they can do that too. Not only with dance, but whatever your thing is, you're never too old or too busy. The situation is never too chaotic for you to remember who you are.
This group of women is incredible. They show their personality, whatever the musicality or the artistry calls for, whether it be sad, happy, serious, exciting, they can do it. And you'll be able to see that in all of the pieces that we showcase.
We're gonna be getting ready for our show. We've got some large group pieces, we've got some small group pieces. We're gonna be cleaning. We just finished learning all of the choreography, so now we make sure everyone's looking the same way and everyone's arm is the same way. So it's gonna be kind of a wide range of things.
Angel Avery does all the choreographing. She's really open to listening to everyone and making sure that we all feel comfortable in the dance because, that's how we're going to be the best that we can be, is if we're all comfortable with what we're doing.
Angel is a great choreographer. I think she has really interesting ideas when it comes to choosing music.
I pick out the music first. I listen to the music over and over and over again, and I see the choreography in my mind, and that's how I choreograph. We try to portray what the music is trying to tell. So, for example, we do a piece called Embrace, which is to Vivaldi's Winter. And that is more about friendship and our relationship together as a company. We all get along and we truly embrace each other's presence. We've done a piece to Game of Thrones, and that's really to portray the theme of that wildly popular show. It's very serious, it's about battling and trying to be in power. We have a piece currently to Beethoven's For Elise, and these are all songs that the majority of people will recognize, and they get drawn in, they get hooked in, and they end up enjoying the pieces. Typically when people see a ballet company in Detroit, it's a ballet company that passes through Detroit and leaves. And we are making ballet accessible to Detroit neighborhoods. We keep our pricing affordable for everybody to come see us. We are homegrown and we're proud to be Detroit.
And that is going to do it for One Detroit. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, you can always find us at onedetroitpbs.org. All right, we always like to end the show with a little performance, and this one comes from the Sphinx organization. It's a Music Across the Ocean project, where 72 musicians around the world virtually joined up to perform Samuel Coleridge Taylor's Othello Suite. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.
Support for this program provided by W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, MASCO Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. MASCO, serving Michigan communities since 1929. The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. NISSAN Foundation, and viewers like you.